Welcome. You're tuned into Life is a Sacred Journey. Every week, we bring a new perspective to aging and caregiving. Here is your host, Michelle Pope.
Good morning, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the virtual neighborhood of Life is a Sacred Journey. My name is Michelle Pope, and I am your host of Life is a Sacred Journey. And today I am excited because our good friend Lynn Abaté-Johnson is back with us and to help us begin to celebrate the Women's History Month as well as International Women's Day. I'm admitting her now as I kind of give you my little monologue. So let me just tell you how important the International Day of Women and Women's History Month is. And the reason for that is because we really need to focus in on the soul, the spirit, and the mind of women. Women, since the beginning of time, have been treated as possessions, have not been given the same opportunities as their fellow human counterparts. The language that is used to describe a woman, oh, she's got her tiara. I should have worn mine. She's got it on. That's my woman. That's my sister friend right there. Good morning, Lynn. But we're going to get started. But it is important that we take time not only to say thank you to women like Shirley Chisholm or I can think of so many. One of my Margaret Thatcher was one of my favorite women of all times. I thought she was so amazing, and then she had the accent, but she knew how to work that room of all these people with these wigs on that look crazy, and she did it. So I just want to say, there are women out there, little baby women in your community right now that need to be mentored. And a mentoring doesn't mean that you have to pick them up every week and do something with them. That would be great if you would. But mentoring them means acknowledging them, saying good morning to them, ensuring that your community is really focusing in on helping them in the schools, even when your kids are grown. My kids are grown, you know. My granddaughter won't be in the school system for a really long time. So what's happening right now doesn't affect me personally, but it does. So Lynn and I are here today because she has been a part of an exciting project. And this project has come to these incredible, I think it's 45, but I've heard 44 women
45.
Coming together and creating this wonderful book called Voices of the 21st Century Women, Women Empowered Through Passion and Purpose. My two favorite words, passion and purpose. Lynn Abaté-Johnson, who is a dear friend of Life is a Sacred Journey and someone who holds an incredible amount of space in my heart. She is a part of this project because she believes also that when she's been going around, this can inspire you as caregivers. This can inspire you as young women beginning your journey and trying to figure out, you 20-somethings who are trying to figure it all out. And even for someone like me that's in this incredible season of my life, there's things I'm learning about myself every single day. It is a journey, but your passion and purpose helps you to identify how to travel, what things to pack, and I'm not talking about clothes, but what things to pack so that you can make it through this journey and then make it having crescendo moments of joy. And so Lynn Abaté-Johnson has been with Life is a Sacred Journey for quite some time. We have become really close friends of the spirit, both through Facebook. We haven't talked to each other much, but we talk to each other. And so I want to just ask you to join me in saying welcome, 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 welcome to Lynn Abaté-Johnson, who is one of the folks that told her story, because this book is about storytelling. And I already ordered my copy. And I had already bought a copy, and then I got the email saying I could buy a copy that would have a note from Lynn. So I did that. So my other copy I'll give away to somebody because that's what I do. So let's say good morning. Good morning, Lynn. Good morning. It's such a blessing to have you back with Life is a Sacred Journey, and it's really great to see you. I haven't seen you in a while in person, so welcome.
Mwah. Good morning, Michelle.
And
Good
she wore
morning.
her tiara, and I wasn't thinking mine is
It's
right there at the house.
because of you. It's because of you. Because the last time we talked, and you were telling me that story about wearing your tiara, wearing your crown out in public, and who cares what people think. And, you and I are, like you said, at that great stage in our lives where we're not going to care what people think of us anymore. Like, we're going to wear our crowns proudly, unabashedly. And one of the many things I love about you is the way that you express yourself, your values, your purpose. I mean, the work you do is also amazing through Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay. I mean, all of my NorCal friends need to meet you, need to know you for sure because of the proximity that they have to you. And I invited some friends from the East Bay to join us this morning.
Oh,
So
good,
they don't join us, a lot of them are working, some are working, one's working at Pixar and, just they're all over the place, still working. But I wanted to thank you for having me on today. And one of the things that came up, talk about expression is that, something that I learned from Burning Man. I don't know if I'm sure you're in the East Bay, Burning Man.
Yes, yes.
For those of you who don't know, look it up.
Yep. Yep.
burningman.org. But I'm not here to promote Burning Man. I'm here to talk about something that I started learning back when I started going to Burning Man in 2006, which is one of the 10 core principles of Burning Man, which is radical self-expression. And the introduction that you so beautifully laid out, that foundation that you laid out for us, it's so, so true. And I think as much as we have tried, I've helped raise nieces and nephews. And as much as we've tried to raise our girls to be strong and to be forthright and to stand in their leadership and their power, culturally, we still have that kind of, I'll use the P word, I'll go ahead and say it, patriarchal, culture that wants to tap us down, like the tamper on the road, when you're doing construction. And that's just not cool with me.
Yeah.
And I know it's not cool with you either. And so, part of writing this book, Voices of the 21st Century,
it is. I love
Women Empowered Through Passion and Purpose. Do you love this cover?
I love the cover. The heart on fire is, but it looks like water too, which you can interpret it however. And I love art, but this shows the abundance of the female energy. Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't, if I would have designed it myself, I couldn't have done better. And this, yes, it's a collaborative book. So I am one of the co-authors, so proud to be a part of it. And there are 44 others. So there's 45 of us all together.
Yep.
And I just kind of let her rip, when I was invited to be a part of this book, and I was trying to think of what should I write about that would make a big impact. Yeah. I know that writing the story that I wrote, and I won't give it away because it's pretty juicy. But I say that my chapter is called "You Are Worthy of Love." And I wrote this chapter in service of all of the women that I know and that I don't know who just could use a little oomph, a little boost of courage. Little, someone kind of by their side and behind them, kind of helping them to see maybe what they're too close to see. Yes. And I know that I show up a certain way, like today, hair and makeup, crown, all that stuff, right? However, that's not always me, right? And often, and still, I am still that scared little girl, that little one who I would say, like my mother used to do, it's all going to be okay, honey. It's going to be okay. Yeah. And that you deserve more. And so I'm hoping that my chapter, because I've never shared this story with anyone publicly. And I was embarrassed and I was ashamed. And so where I am in this stage of my life is to smash those, stigmas to smithereens.
Yes. Yes.
And,
Yeah.
it's one of the reasons I wrote the Out of Love book, which we talked about last time.
Yes. Out of love.
And
Yes.
this was my solo story about, and kind of a love letter to other family caregivers.
Mhm.
And it's called Out of Love, A Daughter's Journey with Her Mom to the End.
Mhm.
And I'm also signing and sending these out
Oh,
now.
I'll have to get one. I'll have to get another one of those
Yeah.
because I gave mine away to one of our caregivers who, a daughter who came in and was just um, not sure about the journey that she was taking on by bringing her mom into the home, and really wanted to explore all these feelings that she was having about it. And after she read the book, she said that she felt like, okay, I can have these feelings. And then, of course, I backed that up with my sort of wisdom and advice. And it's not perfect, and that's the thing. It's not perfect, but at least they're finding a place to connect, even with her mom having dementia and all of that. So I just think that that's the place we have to go. And what that book, Out of Love, and then now hearing these stories and of these diverse, that was the thing, because I looked up, online, all of
Yes.
the contributors, and I was really, Lynn, I have to tell you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And to, I think it was the Women Speakers Association.
Yeah. Gail
Um,
Watson. Gail Watson is this magnificent human being that I met through the Women Speakers Association. She founded it. It's a global organization. I got laid off last January, and right afterwards, I had a conversation with Gail, and I just joined. And I said, and then she said, we have this, 7th edition of Voices of the 21st Century coming out. And would you like to be a part of it? And I said, oh, heck yes, thank you. I would. And so I just thought this is going to be an amazing experience, and it has been. And yes, so diverse. The women writing in this book, there are 5 of them in Australia, 3 in Bermuda, a bunch of Canadians and Americans, and from all different walks of life. And
yes.
so, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, yes, that's what I saw in the bio.
Yeah.
And that's what I can't wait to read it, because
Yeah.
it's like this, it's like when you order food, it's a wonderful, array of women telling their story from wherever they are on the continent, in the world. And
Yeah.
it's not always the same for every woman, but it is the same, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the authors, I'm getting to know so many of these amazing women, and one of them wrote me and she said, because I featured her son's girlfriend's review,
Oh.
because and her name is Chanel, and she wrote a review. She calls her second mom. And my friend said, Lynn, you don't know how much that meant to Chanel that you featured her review, because she was doubting herself. She didn't want to, she was being shy about it. She wanted to make sure it was okay for me to write this review and on Amazon, like in public. And that review really hit me, because here's this younger woman, and she said, as a younger woman, this really helps me understand my path better, and it encourages and inspires me. So I mean, what would our world be like if women were encouraged to practice radical self-expression?
Right.
I mean, what would it be like if we said no when we thought we had to say yes just to be liked or just to please somebody?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what would it be like for us to hold our boundaries, or even to figure out what our boundaries are?
Right.
And this applies in caregiving too. It's such a everything kind of is woven together. It seems like, especially in my life right now, these two books, it's no accident
No.
that these books came through me, or this, the first book came through me, the second book, this chapter came through me to get really radical about this story that happened that people would never, if you looked at me now, people would never guess that that was the same person. I even rereading it, when I got the book in my hands and I reread it, I was like, oh boy. I can't even believe that was me.
Right.
And yet we've all been there in some way, shape, or form. I mean, I'm still making mistakes of judgment in my life,
And
I-
you will.
yeah, you will. And so, the thing is, I also imagine a world where we become less judgmental of ourselves and more discerning, which is it's kind of a judgment thing, discernment, but more discerning about the choices that we're making and the people we're associating with, and what we wake up in the morning on purpose to be, who we be and what we do. Imagine a world where we get that, we explore our values, we tap into our purpose, we wake up and we know why we're here, or at least we have some idea, and then we act accordingly with discernment and with less self hatred or judgment, or those kinds of things. So yes, I really believe that for your younger listeners, and then for those who are kind of now starting to figure things out, and being more comfortable in our own skin, I think that these 45 stories are really keys to unlocking other people's magnificence.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, it's like that old Marianne Williamson quote, right? Like, you are a child of God. There's no, what did she say? There's no use playing small.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
other people don't feel insecure or intimidated. Like, no playing small.
Right.
No, we are all here on this earth for a purpose.
And we've all done that because women naturally are, it's our maternal instinct to please and to bring balance to things, to our own detriment. And that has been one of the things that I have worked on in my life, and the fear of my power. I love the Care Bear, so I'm always thinking about it coming out. My power, the divine power that I have, that shows up regardless of who I think I am.
Yeah.
I want to bring it back in because I'm afraid of the impact that people might judge it from, the stereotypes that I know have been placed upon me without them even being verbally said. And so those are the kinds of things that inhibit our growth.
Yeah. It's so cultural, right? And it's
Yeah.
ingrained in us at a cellular level.
Yep.
So
Yep.
our walks through life have everything to do with what our ancestors kind of put into our cells. Like, it's kind of airy-fairy when you think about it. And I'm not that airy-fairy, although I am just enough to really believe that drama, trauma, legacies, family legacies, ancestral legacies, they all come into our cells as we're being born into the world. So, it's a big job for us just to explore. And also, I'm learning to be more curious about, where's that coming from? Like, I always joke, oh, it's my mom's fault. She, my mom made me like this, and you know, just fiercely independent, would never ask for help, um, you know, until she got cancer. And
Yeah.
then, you know, and then the roles kind of switched, right? Like my mom became my child in a way.
Yeah.
And so the roles reversed. And so here's this person who ushered me into the world and brought me in through her womb.
Yeah.
And I was very fortunate that I even have a mom, that because I'm keenly aware that not everybody has a present mom like I did.
Absolutely.
So I want to say that. And then I got to usher her out of the world, like right there with my little sister in her bed. And it was what I once was thought was once I want what I once thought was completely terrifying
Yeah.
was actually the most beautiful gift I've ever experienced in my life. Now I've never birthed any babies,
Right. I remember you said that. Yes.
right? And I feel so honored that I got to be with my mom and my baby sister in that bed on the morning of May 1st at 7 o'clock in the morning, 2017, on May Day of all days.
I
Like
was just getting ready to say May Day. Yes. Day of
that was
celebration.
significant. That was
Very
significant.
significant.
And especially, you know, knowing my mom and the roses and everything and how she loved to garden. So yeah. And then I don't know if you remember this story, but I think it's definitely in the book about how my sister had some music just playing on her playlist and it was just random, you know,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And then the moment my mom took her final breath, it was Andrea Bocelli singing Time to Say Goodbye.
Oh,
And it was just like,
okay.
right? It was magic.
That's magic. But that's the magic of life when you allow it to happen and when you live in your passion and your purpose. I mean, Lynn, I don't want to make I want to make sure that we both dialogue a little bit for a minute about this idea of purpose because I think that when it was first presented to us, it usually was presented to us in there's a fire, there's something happening behind me here. It was presented to us about what do you want to be when you grow up? So that meant your career, that would establish your purpose is to go and be an accountant, to be a doctor, to be this, to be a wife. I mean, I was reading something last night where in the 40s and 50s that women really weren't going to college. I mean, some were, and this is, I'm not trying the bigger picture. Statistically, though, they were going to look for a husband so that by the time they graduated, they were at least engaged or had somebody that they were going to be engaged to, which ensured financial stability, dippity dippity do. And I was just like, whoa. And whereas today, in 2024, women are going to college, going back to college. Older people, I saw in numbers where older people like myself are going back and saying, I don't really need it for anything, but I want to go back and learn. I want to go back and take this course or that course. So when you think about purpose, and I know you have really had a lot of conversations about this, when how did you find your purpose or realize that you were living into your purpose?
Well, great question. Thank you for asking. I actually found it through some courses that I was taking.
Okay.
So, right. So just like you were saying, like I didn't really need it. I didn't, um, one was a coaching course and it was a 5-part course. And the other one was a leadership course. And that was over a weekend. All 5 of the other courses, the coaching courses were over a 3-day weekend, 4 days. And here's what I learned. This is the key to it. And then I'll get into a little bit about my personal purpose
Mhm.
is the key for purpose today is not like what I'm going to do, like you were saying, the old paradigm. No, it's to reframe it because I was born in Detroit and partially raised there. So
Mhm.
for all of us in Detroit growing up and getting into high school and then college, our sole purpose, our sole desire was to go and get a job in a cubicle at General Motors.
Makes sense.
Right? That was in the auto industry. That was our purpose. I never got that job. I'm so glad I didn't, because I was an entrepreneur at heart, and I was raised by ethnic families who were also raising me to work from a very young age, facing customers. Fast forward to today, I flipped that on its head. Like, it's reframed now. Instead of what we're going to do in our lives, it's more about asking ourselves the question, who do I want to be? And so, who do I want to be? That's my purpose. So my purpose statement is, it's an I am statement. I am. So here it is. Like the ocean. So we use metaphors in this.
Yeah.
Like the ocean, I am a force of nature that reveals new horizons. And so that's for me, to reveal new horizons, because it feels like I've been reinventing myself, like especially since my mom died, last almost 6 years, reinventing myself, and then also questioning every single thing about everything, like all of the paradigms that I grew up with, all the cultural norms that I grew up with, and questioning everything and getting kind of, radical about it. Like, I mean, even wearing this crown is a radical act for me. And, and it's because you influenced me as another woman who encouraged me. I mean, right after we got off that conversation, 8 or 9 months ago?
Yeah, I think,
I went and bought this, and I'm so glad I remembered this morning to grab my crown and wear it.
I am excited. I will remember this forever. We're going to have to meet for lunch and
We have to meet.
crowns while we're eating lunch. And I mean,
I know.
And I love that you're talking about, who do I want to be?
Yeah.
And that's not a one-time question. It wasn't a one-upper, right?
Never. And it applies for me, and then it applies for what I am up to in my life. So as another wise friend of mine says, how I glow in the world. Like, how I glow in the world is to find my own voice and then teach, train, and consult others how to use theirs.
Yes.
And because I have to back up my belief that we can only help heal the world to the extent that we do the inner work first, and that we heal ourselves, and that we're not kind of like bleeding all over everybody else because we've been wounded.
Right. And
So
it's so important. One, if you're caregiving, no matter what phase of life or relationship you are in with people, is that I love this, how I glow in the world. It also changes you. I was telling somebody who has a naysayer sort of Eeyore. It's what I attribute it to, this Eeyore kind of personality, and not to judge her, and I love her, but I said to her, spend a day just taking everything that you think of from that doom and gloom perspective and flip the script on it, even if it's not true, even if you can't see the truth, that flipped truth, and see how much better you'll feel at the end of the day, because a lot of the things that you're looking at as negative are not negative at all. They're just because of your perception or what you've been taught. Because some of this was wonderful. It's like you said, her mom is still alive, but that's not how she speaks of it. She speaks of it from the burden place, instead of the place of how, wow.
yeah.
Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'd love my mother to be alive
I know.
right now. I would love to share my life with her right now.
I know.
Because she didn't get to see this. And so, or maybe she does, I don't know,
Right.
but I'd love to be able to have the flesh
Yes.
So when I wanted to, not to beat her up, but I wanted her to understand the flip side of what she has is forever.
It is. It is. And you know what, Michelle, I learned this through those 6+ years with my mom and in that role of a family caregiver.
Mhm.
And luckily, I have 4 younger siblings, so I had help. It wasn't just me.
Right, right.
I can't even imagine that. I used to tell my mom, man, it's a good thing you had 5 kids. Um, and nothing brings up that shadow side, that dark side, that dysfunction in our lives, like a loved one that close to us getting sick or getting dead or getting some trauma
Yep.
happening in the relationship. I mean, I always say this to people too. It's like, that's normal for that stuff to come up.
Yes.
That's so normal.
Yes.
And so now what? Like, how are we going to embrace that? And I have to say, I did a terrible job during when I was in it. I
Okay.
did a terrible job of like ugh, trying to figure out like, oh, how do I not be anxious? How do I sleep? How do
Mm.
I take better care of my health? Like, ironically, here I am trying to take care of my mom and do whatever I can to make her life better while she's still on the planet.
Yeah.
And yet I wasn't doing a thing for myself. And so, you know, hindsight is 2020, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
part of the reason that I wrote Out of Love was to actually as that love letter to ourselves as family caregivers. I call it care for the caregiver.
Mm.
And back then, there wasn't, 2011, she was diagnosed. There wasn't nearly the resources, much
Oh,
less the awareness
yeah.
of
Yeah.
what a family caregiver, unpaid family caregiver even was. And today, because of all of the different conversations I've been having with people in the caregiving, I mean, there's a whole caregiving economy now,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah. Big.
And so now, even though I still say, if you're in it, I mean, I've had dear friends of mine, one good friend of mine in Napa, I won't say her name, but she's
Yeah.
like, Lynn, I feel like a terrible friend. And I said, why? And she said, because I have your book, but I haven't read it yet because I'm still taking care of my mom. Like, she's still here. And I'm like, I get it. I totally get it. Like, you're not going to be opening up a book. I mean, who has time for that when you're,
Right, right.
especially I was working full time in Silicon Valley at the
Remember you
time,
said,
and I was used up and spit out, and then I wasn't sleeping, and then I wasn't properly nourished.
yeah.
So if I can help some people see some little tiny ways, and also in that book, I provide some actual concrete tips and resources that
Yes.
anybody can copy and use. And that kind of helped us with the mechanics of the everyday logistics.
Yep.
While, our emotions are spinning and we're freaked out,
Yep.
and every single situation is new, every lab result, every diagnosis, every side effect of chemo, every single thing is new every day.
Yep.
You just like your nervous system just goes, shh.
Yep. It's an overload. Overload. It's an overload. And the other is that that you're grieving too at the same
Yes.
time. You're grieving levels of relationship that you were able to have with your loved one before they were diagnosed, and then you started to care for them. I was talking about that yesterday with a good friend here, not here, at where I was,
Mhm.
and they were saying that it was really difficult for them to care for their dad because being the daughter, providing personal care and all those kinds of things, she said it felt very demeaning and undignified to her. And that's when she hired somebody because she
Yeah.
realized her zeal to want to care for him, there were some limits that she had to impose upon herself. in order to really do it in a loving way.
I totally get that. There's in my family, there's 4 girls and 1 boy.
Uh-huh.
So my brother, he was so great. I mean, because he's overpowered by the 4 of us and normally, and even growing up. And so that was another thing, right? That comes up when mom is sick and needs help. And so we figured out, my brother didn't do the potty stuff, you
Yeah.
know. He didn't take my mom to the bathroom and sit her on the toilet and put the catheter in her and
Right.
none of that. Like he did other things. He helped take care of the nieces and nephews and his own son, and he helped pick
Okay.
up prescriptions at the pharmacy, and he would do a grocery store run. So we figured out as a team, and my mother was brilliant at this because she knew all 5 of us, and she knew our gifts and our capabilities better than almost anyone else.
Yes.
So she basically assigned us, when she was feeling good. The other thing I wanted to also really acknowledge and get back to is that idea of purpose that's threaded through our lives. Because even though I wasn't aware of it back in my 20s, when I wrote this story in Voices about, right?
Okay. Okay.
I wasn't aware of a purpose. However, I am aware now that this has everything to do with who I am today and what I'm up to help other people feel encouraged. So, there's a reason I went through what I went through in that story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one of the reasons is so that now I could share that, and now I could really kind of be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, instead of carrying that pain and that trauma with me through to today, my purpose says that I am a force of nature that reveals new horizons.
Yes.
So, I don't have to, but I like to kind of walk my talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let other people know. What I teach in my courses and one-on-one with clients is it's okay to be exactly who you are and exactly who you are not.
Boom. Yes.
And both of those are important,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes, Lynn.
And embracing our shadow sides, like embracing the dark side, that is so key. So
I love
part
it.
of part of my old Lynn personality was that I wanted everybody to like me. And I knew I was capable of doing anything and everything. I was fiercely independent. So like my mom, I would often say yes when I probably should have said no, because I did that to my own detriment.
Yeah, me too.
And so today, I'm practicing that discernment, and I'm practicing living my purpose and helping others do the same.
Wow. Friends, Lynn Abaté-Johnson has been a part of Life is a Sacred Journey for a while now, 9 months, a year. It doesn't really
Big
matter.
fan, big fan.
Big
Big
fan. Yeah, also a big fan. But these are I wrote down some jewels of our conversation, and pearls or diamonds or whatever you want to call them. Who do I want to be is the question when you're seeking to understand and connect with your purpose. And what Lynn just said is that you've been living out your purpose. Maybe you didn't know it. Maybe you weren't able to discern it at that time. But if you begin to ask the question, who do I want to be, whatever period of life you're in, you get on the journey, the quest, what I call the purpose quest. The other was a friend of hers, a colleague, gave her this wonderful, how I glow in the world. You can ask that as a question before you leave your house every morning. How do I want to, and I say show up, but I like this better. How do I want to glow in somebody else's life today? That means being the light, being the change, all those things. The other thing that Lynn said is that I love is the shadow side. Oh man, because the shadow side is that thing that I went through a couple of weeks ago when my shadow side took over about in a situation, and I felt so demoralized by it. But then because I've been doing my work, and Lynn just talked about it too, we got to do our work though, friends. You know, it doesn't happen in a by itself. I didn't stay there very long. I worked through it, and I love your vision statement. I'm writing my own personal vision statement right now based on that moment. I realize that I may feel these things in my head and my heart, but writing down a personal vision statement that you can remember in those moments is almost like saying, our, whatever, if you're a Christian, our Father who art in heaven, you learn these things because they're things that you can use in those moments of distress, pain, and grief. Lynn, you are amazing. Now, I want people to understand, though, that you also have a practice, and I'm not going to say practice in the sense that you're practicing on people, but that you meet with folks and you have workshops. So, how do people get engaged with those? I'm interested as well. So, how do we sign up? How do we get involved?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. You go to my website, lynnabaté-johnson.com. And you can also email me, lynn@lynnabaté-johnson.com, if you want to bypass the website. But I have a contact form there, and you could see my books and you could see what I offer, my offerings. I work one-on-one. I work with cohorts of people who, and I have a course called, and a philosophy called Show Up You.
Ooh.
Show Up You. So show up, Y-O-U, capital Y-O-U. And it's a hashtag. So if you look it up, you might find me that way too on social media. I don't know. But this is a really, really juicy course because, I'm a longtime sales and marketing business consultant. I'm a global community builder. And I really have kind of distilled a lot of what I've learned into the being of business, in the glowing of business and the growing of business, as opposed to the doing of business, because I believe that there are plenty of tools out there that as business people, we can learn. All we have to do is Google something or YouTube something, right?
Yeah.
Those are the doing things. Those are the mechanics. And that's really, I believe, only 10% of our success in building businesses. The other 90% is who we are, who we be, how we show up. And so I teach the Show Up You for entrepreneurs, brands, collaborative teams. And I also I've got a waiting list going for future authors and writers. So this last year, you can imagine, since I wrote the first book, people have been coming to me and saying, because I was never going to be an author. So people know that, and they come to me and they say, how did you do it? And I say, so from their questions, I'm actually creating curriculum to teach and help guide people through the being of writing it down, sharing your stories. I believe every single one of us has a book, at least one book in us. I have another book that's going to come out next year. And it's exciting because I think the more we express who we are, the more we can gather community and connection around us. And I believe that the world needs more community, more connection. And it's another reason why I love to speak. I love to do public speaking.
Yep.
So I'm looking for women's groups, organizations that center women, book clubs, masterminds, conferences, workshops, online or offline. I mean, I love it all. I love people. And I have a very unique approach in that I do learn from the people that I'm teaching, right?
Yeah.
I ask a lot of questions. I get pretty introspective. It's definitely not for everyone. However, it is for people who are curious.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah,
Well,
public
I love that. I sign me up because my book is in me. It's all over the place. It's some, but I realize I need somebody to walk with me in the effort because of everywhere that my head goes, as well as just time. And I was thinking about it the other day. So this is how the universe shows up for you, my friends, when you put it out there, because that was my thing that in my meditation was I was just like, divine, help me, because I've been talking about it for 5 years. I've got it in bits and pieces in this journal and that journal and blah blah blah. But if I could take a class, or if I could work with somebody that could help me to say, okay, get chapter 1 together, where I could just. And then I learned the other day, my daughter even said to me, but she said, Mom, you keep saying sit down and write, and at the end of the day you have a phone. I said, what are you talking about? She said, speak it. I was like, what? And so that, it's just little things that there's.
Yeah.
Well, but what they are, Lynn, is self-sabotages
Yeah.
in some way, to say,
Yep.
I never got that done, instead of saying, well, yeah, I could put.
Well, I'll give you a little hint right now, Michelle, is take the phone and use it and speak into it. So open up a note. Do you have an iPhone?
Yeah. Or I have, no, I have an Android, but it has a note system in it.
Okay. So speak into it. Speak into it. That's my next book is going to be that. Because I'm doing a collaborative book the next time.
Okay.
It's part of the reason I agreed to do this book is because I wanted to learn the behind the scenes, the back end process of a collaborative book.
Okay. Okay.
It was completely foreign to me.
Right.
But my next book, I'm going to be interviewing my authors. Instead of having them be forced to write anything down, I'm going to do what we're doing now. I'm going to have a conversation with them on Zoom. And then I'm going to transcribe it into words, and then I'm going to edit it for their chapter of the book. Simple. Like, I am the workaround queen. There's always a workaround, right? Yeah.
Oh man. So Lynn Abaté-Johnson has contributed to a wonderful book, and it's entitled Voices of the 21st Century, Women Empowered Through Passion and Purpose. Passion and purpose, the two things that we're told not to show, or if we do, we get labels that are very negative, but they are the very things that fuel our existence, not only as women, but as human beings. And so during this World History Month of Women and International Women's Day, take some time. And this is what I wanted to, this is Lynn. International Women's Day, the 2024 campaign theme is Inspire Inclusion.
Yes. Yes.
So purpose, passion,
Yes.
inspire inclusion. And
Yes.
that's what Lynn and her beautiful sisterhood did in the book. I'm going to tell you again so you won't forget. Voices of the 21st Century. Thank you, Lynn. Women Empowered Through Passion and Purpose. Passion and Purpose. Voices of the 21st. And remember that beautiful heart, either floating up from the fire within, or the heart that's floating up because it's filled with the water of life. And that's amazing, because I saw both things in that logo. So Lynn Abaté-Johnson, also you can find her at her website, and Lynn Abaté-Johnson, one word together.com, and just reach out to her. You might even find me in one of those classes or whatever, and so join the sisterhood. I also am very interested in the Women Speakers Association, so I will talk to Lynn about that offline.
Yes.
And the other is step into who you are.
Mhm.
It is so important, and the time is now. That women need us. Women need us, older women, and let's stop using ageism language. That's the other thing. I'm going to have Lynn back to, because
Yes.
and maybe I'll have Lynn and another sister of ours, but we need to stop talking in ageist terms.
Eh,
There's no such thing as an old person.
I'm with you 100%. I've been talking to my little sister about this. I've been talking to everyone. I'm actually trying to convince myself every day that I ain't old. I'm like fine wine, right?
And why should I adopt this paradigm of how you want me to behave because you know my age?
Yeah.
That before you knew my age, you didn't expect that of me.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
So
Yeah.
I want to have a long conversation with you. Maybe we'll do a master class or something on it, or a webinar, because it's crazy that these beautiful, vibrant women are being talked about in these terms like they're old, and oh, they're too
Yes.
old to wear that kind of fashion, or they're too old to be acting that way. What way?
I know. What way exactly? And the whole radical inclusion, which by the way is another one of the 10 principles of Burning Man,
Oh,
says
I
that
love that.
everyone and everything is included. Everyone and everything is included in these leadership journeys of ours. And if we have time, I have the quote
Yeah,
that, could I read it?
yeah, please, please.
Okay, because I messed it up before with that old Marianne Williamson quote that was
Okay.
actually used by Nelson Mandela in his inaugural speech.
Okay.
So it's this: women and men who love us.
Mm-hmm.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
Wow. Wow.
And
I have to do a sermon this weekend. I haven't written it yet, but I had already thought about it being on fear.
mm,
And I could tie this. I mean,
mhm,
thank you for that.
thank
Thank you
you.
for that. Because I've been asking the universe, what am I going to say? And right now, um, fear is what's holding us back from saying no war and really meaning it. Fear is holding us back in our communities when we say we need to help the unsheltered people, but all we take them is a sleeping bag and think that's going to be enough. Fear is keeping us back when we pit children against elders. And I just heard it done this morning where they said, "Oh, we only have this much money, and if we need to take it from here, meaning elder care services, to give it to children." I'm not saying I have a granddaughter. I want her to have all things in life. But at the end of the day, you can't rob one to beef up the other. Equality means you give everybody the same block to stand on, so they both have the same panoramic view. And Lynn Abaté-Johnson is one of those individuals that sees the panoramic view. She's one of those individuals that in every conversation that I have seen her in on YouTube or wherever, I have looked her up and found so that I could get a feel for her heart even before this time. She's the glow in the world. And so look her up, get the book. Order it from Lynn. I know, Felicia, I'm going to do this, my favorite thing, because I don't even know where it is, but I know it's down here.
I know.
Felicia's going to give you the link so that you can order the book, and Lynn will send you a beautiful note. She did a wonderful Instagram short where she had the book, the box in her hand, and I just imagined her writing my name in one of those books. So get the book, and if you can afford it, if you're in that price range in life where you can afford to buy two, keep the one, and then give it to any person that you think might need it or enjoy reading it, that might help them on their journey. And then applaud the 44 other women, including Lynn. You know, I'm going to reach out to, after I read it, to, you know, probably every single last one of them and just say thank you. You don't have to be grandiose in your words, but thank you is a good word, right? The two words.
Great word.
And then go to Lynn's website and see if there's a course or something else that she's doing, or if you need some one-on-one, you know, you need to spend some time with somebody just to kind of talk it out, because that's what that's all about. Coaching is hearing you speaking
Yes.
into your truth, and the coach just happy pulling out those gems for you so that you can identify that the answer does live in you. So friends, Lynn, stay here for a few minutes if you can. Friends, it's supposed to be a halfway decent weekend. I know that it is, because my allergies are killing me. You know, we had all this rain and now the sun is out, and I woke up this morning blowing my nose and everything. But that was also wonderful because I got to wake up. That's all, you know. But go out, hug a tree. And then from my friend Carmen, pet a cat. I love cats too, Carmen. I'm just allergic to them. For some reason, and I'm not allergic to dogs. I don't get it. Pet a dog, hold a dog. Lynn, you have the same thing. And spend time. This is something that I did last weekend, that I offer up to you. If you can. If you can't, I get it. Get down on your knees on some ground, on some soil, okay? Lean over and look at the soil. I did it at a base of a tree, and the tree roots were coming out, and I realized they were under me in the ground when I got my knees down, because I could feel them. And then you don't have to do this, but this is what I did. I laid down and I put my ear to the ground. And there's stuff going on down there. I could feel it a little bit, made me a little nervous, because I was like, oh, there's something going to crawl in my ear. But after I overcame that fear, the ground quickly got warm because of the warmth of the side of my face. And I began to cry, friends, and I'm going to tell you why. Is because the earth is one of the most powerful creations of the universal whatever, the Big Bang Theory, whatever you want to call it. And it deserves better of us. It is the fuel. It is our fuel, because our food comes from it. It is everything. So spend time being thankful, as our indigenous brothers and sisters have taught us. Be thankful to the planet. We call her Mother Earth. So we see her from a maternal place. So go out and do that. And then if you're someone out there that is feeling so sad that that moment won't work for you, pick up a phone, get a phone, and text or dial 988. And there will be somebody there to support and help you. And as I told you, the 1-800-843-5200, which is the 24/7 crisis counseling hotline for youth and crisis and their family, emancipated youth, LGBTQI, just in crisis. This number is in jeopardy. It's one of the cuts that's proposed for our budget upcoming, the May revise. So do what you got to do. Call somebody, write somebody. We need these hotlines in our community to help the people that we can't get to with our glow in enough time. So Have a good weekend. Be good to yourself. Love yourself. Lynn, do you want to say one last thing to your friends in Life is a Sacred Journey?
I want to say, be good to people. And that includes you. Something that my tea bag said, and I thought this was hilarious for where I am right now in my life.
Yeah.
This is my yogi tea. The unknown is where all outcomes are possible. Enter it with grace. The unknown is where all outcomes are possible. Enter it with grace. So
enter it with grace. Be well, dear friends, and know that Lynn Abaté is only a keyboard kick away, and the phone, you can get your book, and then you can watch this podcast and the other one that we did over and over again. It's a legacy that we will leave to you. So have a great day. Be happy out there. Share your glow. All right. Peace.
thank you.